Okay, Gwen, thank you for sending in questions. Candy is here and I am here, and we are going to ask your questions.
Hmm.
Okay, so the first question is, what will be the collective's biggest lesson of 2025? And I can already feel them telling me to ask about the United States first. So let's do that, and then maybe we'll back it up and out to the collective.
Okay. So, what is the United States' biggest lesson in 2025?
Hmm. Americans, I guess, people.
Oh my goodness. Well, they're just like sigh. That's literally what they're doing. They're just like, oh, sighing. Oh, I don't like that at all. Me, Candy personally doesn't. I don't like that response from them. Well, they're talk about a pause. They just seem a little bit. Oh, I think we're getting a little confused with what maybe the question is, but they're like, they just don't think that we're going to learn the lesson that 2025 was meant to teach us.
Oh, hmm.
Um, so they're kind of just like almost like looking at each other. Like imagine if you had, like a table full of guides and like they're all like looking at each other trying to like confirm and figure out what to say or what to do next, but they're just like, I mean, I just don't know that like you're just not where we thought you'd be. We just don't know that you're ready. Um, we thought you might be farther along in basically your maturity. But ultimately, what 2025 was supposed to start to teach us was the importance of unity, and not unity from the perspective of everybody's on the same page and everybody agrees, but unity from the perspective of we're in this together. So we need to figure out how to be in this together.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of seeing the opposite of that with like the reaction to the California wildfires.
Yeah. I think this is part of why they seem so exasperated. They're like, tragedy used to bring you together. You would see
Hmm.
you would see your humanity in each other, and you would be touched by it, and you would react from that. And they're just like, it's just not happening like it used to. It's almost like they're not running out of ways to unify us, but they're like they're a little bit at a loss of how to unify us. And what I think they're trying to tell us is almost like, I don't know, like you guys got to figure it out. It's like probably when you're a parent and you're at a loss of like how to get a lesson across to your kids, and finally you're like, you know what, I don't know, you're going to have to just figure this out. And I think 2025 is going to be the year where they just sort of like put the hands up and they're like, all right, just figure it out. You're not listening to us, you're not following your higher wisdom, you're not like leaning in. Enough of you aren't leaning in. So like just fucking go to fisticuffs, like battle it out, figure it out.
Right, because like I mean, you do see, I mean, some of that coming together, but then you also see the complete opposite of that, and it's like some of it's like, are these? It's like I'm thinking of social media, and it's like, are these people even real people that are posting all of these ridiculous things? You know what I mean? But then it's like you're still getting caught up in it, and then you're having real conversations with actual people that you know are real people, not even just on social media, but in your own real life, and they're not. There's no like the empathy is not there in some people.
No,
It's dumbfounding.
I'm so glad you said all of that, because what they were showing and saying while you were saying all of that, Laura, was you're trying to outspecial each other. Like,
What the
oh,
fuck does
you
that
think you're
mean?
special? I'm special. And it's like this one-upsmanship on who can be the most special. They're like, it's actually the most ridiculous thing we've ever seen. Because really what like this isn't even born out of hatred. It's born out of fear of not being seen as being special. Somewhere, I don't know who planted this. We might need to ask, like, who made it seem like everybody needs to be special? Like everyone is special, but like it's a special competition.
Well, it's so interesting you say that because there was something that came out, oh God, it was like in the last year or so, and it was a study, and it was like people that believe in astrology have like narcissistic tendencies. And I thought that was so interesting. I thought that was so
The
interesting.
stars, it's all about me.
Well, yeah, like right, because you have your own special natal chart and that's your blueprint and no one else has that blueprint. But in my mind, I'm like, did they follow? I was like, did they even ask enough questions of these people that they were interviewing or like doing the study on? And it's like, did they ask the question, you think you're special, do you think everyone else is also special
See,
at
right.
the same level?
As you were talking about the astrology, they were saying, yes, but every single human being shares that specialness in common.
Right.
Every single human being has a unique astrological blueprint, period. Then they were showing me that Luigi guy who shot the CEO of
Yeah.
United Health.
Uh-huh.
He was trying to out special, like, oh, I'm going to be the one that took care of this for everyone else. That's why he's not showing remorse. Like it's like this proud, like, hey mom, look at me. Look what I did. Like, you guys have gotten it so twisted. So that's why they were just like 2025, I don't know.
Great.
Just don't know.
So is there a different, would they say something different if we were talking to just like the whole world, like the entire collective consciousness?
Oh, outside of America?
Yeah,
Okay, so what was the
like the
question?
lesson for the
The,
entire collective.
for 2025. Oh, I think it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's unity, but the like outside of the US, they're getting it. And they're getting it partly because they're all unifying against the nonsense that they're seeing happening in the US. Like,
You're
yeah, glad we could help.
welcome.
Um, it's like we've just made the whole world look really sane.
Yeah.
And so
Com-
they're unifying in their humanity and in their almost like pity for what's happening here.
Oh my God. Um, so unity, I mean, that's pretty much always the lesson, right? Like that's kind of the whole point. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but when they say unity, it's like understanding everyone's on their own journey and that I don't know, just like how would they describe that as like if the collective's biggest lesson is always unity, what does that mean?
Well, they're showing it in terms of government right now. And while not everyone in the whole world is on the same page, the unity is around the acceptance that it's not quite figured out yet. So, like, democracy is amazing, but it needs some tweaks. You know, capitalism, amazing, needs some tweaks. Socialism, amazing, needs some tweaks. Like, so it's like outside of the US, there's this willingness to look at what needs tweaked and how, by applying these modifications or adjustments, it can create a more unifying experience. Like we are all in it together, so how can we help each other have a better experience? And we're not there yet in the US. We're still like digging in, advocating for like what we our own individual interpretations of how this experiment's supposed to work.
Mm.
And they're like, it's an experiment, so like there can't be one way that it's supposed to work. That's why it's called an experiment. um but so like let's dig below unity. It's almost like forgiveness is the word that I just heard. It's like there's this forgiveness and understanding around when things don't go right or the way that someone thought that they would go, that there's a forgiveness around it and an understanding to make adjustments, to try again. Um, and we're not in that forgiveness and understanding space.
Mm, that's the biggest struggle, and that's what would bring the unity because when you look at things through that lens of like forgiveness and understanding, it's like admitting that there were things that could have gone better and that no one is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then when you can see those vulnerabilities in other people, or I mean, even in yourself, because some people hold other people to really high standards. I don't even know what I'm talking about, actually. I lost my train of thought. It's like, I don't know. I'm just thinking about the wildfire still because we're still in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
it. And it's like all the criticism of how it's being handled and all of that, but it's really just such an unusual circumstance. And there is no way that there was a perfect way to handle it because it just isn't a thing that could have been handled perfectly from the beginning, just in general.
Right.
But there's this lack of allowance for that imperfection, I think, is creates that divisive energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're what as you were saying that, what they were showing is the wildfires are still going on. Every conversation right now should just be focused on how do we stop them? How do we limit loss of life? How do we put in place the protections? How do we put in place not protections for the future, but like protections for today? Like how do we protect the buildings that are still there? How do we protect the land that's still there to stop the wildfires? They're like, if everyone's energy would just focus on that, that is number one. You're still in the middle of the catastrophe. But there's like that's what's lacking is the unified ability to be like, oh my God, this is terrible. How
Hmm.
can I help? Can I lend my energy to helping stop the wildfires? Can I do a prayer group to stop the wildfires? Can I send money to firefighters that are out there? You know what I mean? It's like, it's not all hands on deck. Let's focus on the immediate need, which is stopping the wildfires.
Right. There's all this other energy being scattered
Yeah, all
to
this
all kinds of
distraction
other stuff.
energy of like, who can we blame and whose fault is it? And why is it okay that blah, blah,
And
blah
it's not even
happened?
over yet. Like that's the
Yes.
thing, right? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Do they have any advice then? I guess just real quick, general advice for people listening that like how do you get onto like the unity consciousness bandwagon as a regular ass person, not necessarily around the wildfires, but just in general?
One word, empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Put yourself in other people's shoes. Get out of your own way, get out of your own head, get out of your own house, and imagine what it would be like to be whatever it is that you're looking at, to be a hostage, to be a firefighter, to be a homeowner in California, to be a homeowner in a flood, to be a Democrat in a Republican county, a Republican in a Democrat county. Like, they're just like, just imagine
Mm-hmm.
empathy. Yeah.
Awesome. That was really good. Okay. Now, what are some of the energies coming up in early 2025 and how do we cope with those?
What are the energies coming up?
Yeah, and then like let's say the first half of the year.
Oh my God, they're flashing me that I told you about this the other day when we were talking that meme that used to go around where it's like the stick figure and the heads on fire.
Oh
So there's
God.
like there's this chaos, this spun up energy of overwhelm that's prominent. They're just like, it doesn't really matter who you are, what you believe, where you live. Everyone is feeling that for different reasons, but it's the same energy. And they're showing like a remember those old those Tux medicated pads commercials
You
for
mean
hemorrhoids? Put the fire out in the hemorrhoids. That's what
oh
they're
my
showing
God.
me. Essentially, get your head out of your ass, I think is what they're saying. But they're just like, everybody needs to find the thing that helps them calm down. So meditation, prayer, movement. Um, there, it's like I think it's more Eastern practices.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like it might be the best medicine. So what would that be? Like sound healing, meditation, breath work, yoga, those practices that force us to slow down, to calm down, to center, walks in nature, qigong, like all that kinds of stuff.
Yeah, just like I'm feeling it's like you just have to keep pulling yourself out of the chaos. So if you get swept up into the news or whatever and you're just feeling stressed out or overwhelmed by work or your family life or whatever you've got going on, that it's like that constant going back to finding ways of like pulling yourself out of the energy and just readjusting your energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exploring philosophies like Buddhism, Taoism.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really like the East right now.
Well, that goes along with the
Probably
Mayan
because the West is
calendar.
on fire.
Right. That goes
Literally, the
along
West
with,
is on fire.
yeah, like the Mayan calendar guy that I forget what his name is.
Oh,
Carl
yeah, Carl.
something. Johanneman or Johann something. He says that we're coming into this
Calaman.
period of
Isn't it
time.
Calaman?
That's right, Calaman, where the east is like rising up. So that actually makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like the energy's kind of swinging toward that. It's not only just that side of the world, but also like the powers coming up should be happening more on the east versus the west. And then it would be similar to like the same thing would be like the energies and then those practices getting stronger. That makes sense. Okay.
Mm-hmm.